Welcome to the part 2 of this map skill video, where we'll be looking at relief of a map. Okay, but before I explain this question, let me quickly explain certain things about relief. So sorry about this. Let me insert a blank page. Now, relief, for interpretation of relief on the map, you must use contour lines. So if you use, contour lines. Now, when using contour lines, the contour lines will help to tell you how the structure of the relief of a particular area, what does it represent. So if you have contour lines that are quite very close to each other, once you see contour lines close to each other, what it tells you is that this is referred to as a steep slope. Then when the contour lines are far apart from each other, it represents a gentle slope. Then when you see contour lines that are very far away from each other, it is referred to as flat land. So each of these contours will have values, and they have what is called contour interval, which is the difference between two contour lines. Usually in Igcse, the difference used to be 10 meters. Now, another major thing you need to know is, if you see a contour line that is quite circular to the top, this is referred to as a hill. Then if you see a contour line that is moving upwards in this direction, you see it up and down, see it moving this way, up, down on a map. Easily there are two things that this can represent. Now when you see a contour line moving up this way, like in this case, and there is a river flowing like in between, whichever pattern, this is referred to as a valley. Take note. Now you see it doesn't give you the V shape, so it doesn't really look like a valley in the real sense, but this is a valley. If you have to draw the cross section, you'll be able to see that it's a valley. Then this part here that is looking like the real valley itself, that is moving downwards, this part is referred to as a spur, which are your interlocking spurs. Now, it is difficult. I've been looking at past papers for some time now, that you get questions on relief that when you can structure these things that I just display here, you won't get your full mark. Now, when you are asked questions on relief, things you should remember to do is, 1, always remember to tell us the slope. And there are only 3 things you should remember here. It's either it is steep or gentle, or it is flat. Tell us about the second thing is the height. So you give us a range. You can give us a range of heights, let's say from 60 meters. That area is from 60 meters to to like 80 meters within that range. So this area, definitely is a low land area. But if you begin to see height above sea level from like 300 to 1,500, then you begin to talk about, it is obviously this area is higher than this area, so you begin to talk about things like highland regions. So this is it. This is it. Then you should tell us which area is steep, which area is gentle, which area is a valley, which area is a spur, which area is a hill, which area. Then you should always, if there is a spot height, so a spot height is cited with maybe a dot and a number, let's say 30 here. Then the spot height there is 30. That's the highest point within that location. And if there are trig stations with numbers attached to it, you can also bring that in when describing the relief of an area. Now, with this knowledge, let's go to the first question here. Now, this question, we are asked to, this is relief. So this map is given to us. So where is my pen? Tup, 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 tup. So this is given to us in the question paper, so we need to find the point on this map extract. So once we get a point on the map extract, this is how it looks like. So the first question they asked is, they said describe the difference in relief. So the question is, describe the difference in relief between area A and area B, and it's a 3-mark question. So if you look at this, this is area A here, and this is area B here. What is now their difference in relief? So if you look at this area A, the contours here are close to each other. So area A will be a steep slope. Now if you look at area B, this is 50. And the contour lines are far apart from each other. So area B is a gentle slope, or if you like, because it's very far, you can say it's a flat land. Now another thing you can look at here, let's look at the height. This is around 125, 105, 150, 125 again, 150. So you agree with me that point A is higher in height, and point B here we are having just 50 and it decreases, so point B is lower in height. Now you can now give a range of value. Say you see this is 50, so I can set to say point B is around 50 or less, 50 meters or less, while this we're looking at close to like 150 to 160 thereabout, if it's still increasing upward meters. Always remember to put in your unit. Now let's see, this is what the mark scheme now gave us. Say A is steeper while B is more gentle. A is a higher land while B is a lower land. So we've gotten 2 marks there. Then A is around 65 to 165 meters. So our range, we fall within this range. We mentioned 150 to 165 to 160. So we've gotten our 3 marks. It's as simple as that. And we also gave a range, allow height between. We also gave a range of 50 meters that we saw on area B. So we've gotten our mark. That is relief for you. Now, I have this question. They said, figure 1.3 shows the part of the valley of the Freya River. Describe the relief of the part of the valley. 3 marks. Now, this is the figure, and this is the Freya River. Now, if you check the original map, then look at the river here. The Freya River is what you have here. Okay, so what is now the relief? Now, the first thing is, the relief is how the land within that area is arranged. So if you look at this, you find out that the land here using the contour is not straight. So the relief is not straight. So it is bending. So sometimes you can use the word is winding. Now, another thing you should look at, based on the first thing we spoke about when I was describing relief, because now they say relief and a valley. Now, if you look at this relief, you find out that it is moving downwards this way here, and this part is moving upwards. So this part is moving downwards, this part is moving upward. So what that means is this one that is moving upward it has a V-shaped valley. And the one moving downward signifies a spur. That's an interlocking spur. We're just describing the shape. Now, another thing you remember that I said is try to give us height. We need height in meters. So if you look at this, so just find something that will be within the range there. So this contour line here is 300, 400, 500. So each is 10, 10, 10. I mean, sorry, is 500. So it should be 20, 20, 20. That's the contour interval. So let's see if we have any point that is quite really high along this area. So you find out that I can decide to pick this 500 within that range. So to be safe, you can say 400 meters. Some areas are as high to 400 meters. Now it is windy and with interlocking spurs. So another thing that is there that you can bring in, because they relate it to a relief, you find out that the contours are close to each other. So it is a steep slope. It also have a steep slope because the contours are quite close to each other. So that's it. That is it. So if you look at the mark scheme now, we mentioned windy, we mentioned interlocking spur, the part that is coming downwards. We mentioned steep, we mentioned V-shaped valley. We give a range. You see, they say 200 to 800. So we gave 400 meters. So we said 400 meters. So we gave a range. We've gotten the whole mark. That is it. That is the skill that is involved. Now I have another question here. Here they say the river feature. Now, anytime you get a question about river feature, it's still a skill. So you see, it is difficult to see a river that flows straight. So once they say features, what are the features of a river? Features of a river are things like try to remember the width, try to remember if they ask you in the exam, the width, try to remember the direction of flow, direction of flow. Now, remember features of a river that you've covered in your syllabus. Things like the meanders. We have things like the tributaries. You have things like the confluence. You have things like Oxbow Lake. You have floodplains. You have deltas. You have braided rivers. A braided river is a river that moves, splits, and rejoin. That's a braided river. Then a delta is a river that split into several when it get to the mouths, distributaries. So once you know this, there is no question about river features that you fail. No. So in the case of this question now, they said find the main river on the map extract called the Vransman River. Describe the features of the river. So where is the Vransman River? Look at it here. This is the main river called the Vransman River. Now, if you look at this river, the first thing is the river is not straight. So one is that I will say it has a meander. Number two, I can bring from here is a formal question, is that the river flows eastwards. Now, because it's this area, as you move from here, as it goes, you find out that the width increases. And one thing you should know is that the width of a river increases downstream. So as the width increases, so that should be the direction of flow. It increases downstream. And river normally flow from highland to lowland regions. So if you look at this area, it is usually gentle slope because the contours are far away. But if you look at this area here, where it's coming from, there is more, it's higher than this area here. So here you can see things like 50 meters and so as you're moving 40, here I have like 35, so it's decreasing. So river flows from highland to lowland region. So these are the marks you should look out for. So that means if I draw my cardinal point here and the river is flowing eastward, or if you like, you put southeast. So direction of flow, it flows what? It flows east. Now it has meanders. Now another thing is, if you look at this, there are tributaries. Look at smaller river joining the larger one, and the point where small river and the large river meet is called a confluence. So obviously, if there are tributaries, there will also be confluence. Now, another major thing is you should tell us about the width of the river. So you find out that number 4, what happened to the width? The width increases downstream, so, or towards the eastern edge. So the width increases downstream. So that's it. That's it. If you look at this river here, you can see maybe mini lakes. So all these ones now, or any other feature that you can't see here directly the way I'm describing it, you should go and use the key on the map. Very easy. So check any of the feature that is close by here. If you don't know what it means, go check the key of the map, find the name. As long as it's related to water, it will be part of the river feature, and you put it, you get your full mark. It's as simple as that. So if you check the mark scheme now, they say the river flows, you see, they give us the direction, southeast or east from northwest. So we got that. Meanders, we got it. Tributaries, we got it. Now, variable width and wider width towards the east, we got it. You just need 4 marks. Now, there are bridges. Try to remember this. I always forget it. I don't know why. Now, bridges is a feature. So where the road passes through a river, there is a bridge there. Here, there is a bridge here. And if you check here too, there is a bridge here. So there are bridge. It's as simple as that. You just write it. So it's more like, map reading is more like, tell us what you can see. Now, I have another question here, and this has to do with the same river. They said, describe the feature of the river between the western edge of the map extract at 280260. So 380 is this, 260 is this. So 260, where did they meet? They meet. So look, this is the river at the western edge, because this is your west, then your east, remember, your north and your south. So this is the western edge of the map. Now, and its confluence with the river Helge. So this is the confluence here, because this is river Helge coming downstream. So this is river Helge. So this is the confluence. Now, in grid square 4, so 4 marks again. So what the first thing you see, this river is not moving straight. So my first answer will be that it is, can get simple. The first thing I'll write is, you see, it's not straight. There are meanders. Now, are there smaller river that join this main one here? Let's see. Yeah, if you look at this, I think this is a river that joins it. So that should be true. I can have, it has tributaries. If you have tributaries, it will have confluence. I've mentioned meanders. Number 3, if you look at this feature here, this is what we call the braided feature. This one, the river split and rejoin. So the river is braided, like you're plaiting. It's split and rejoin. Direction of flow, always remember. Now, this river is moving from here and is going to join this other one. So it's moving eastward. So the river flow east. Check again. Here there is a bridge. So obviously 5. You also have a bridge where the road crosses. Other features that might not be part of what we listed, you can check the key for it. Like this, they look more like there is an oxbow lake left behind, and that's it. Let's see what the mark scheme says. Now, the mark scheme is of the opinion that that it flows east. It's split and rejoined, that's braided. There are meanders. You see, like I said, there are oxbow lake. Now, there are tributaries. And if you check the key, you see if you have a dam. So that, you've gotten your 4 marks. It's not, just tell us what you can see, please. Pam. Now, okay, you see, we didn't even talk about the width. So the width is very important. So it's at least 6 meters wide. So sometimes you might be asked to, you might just use your ruler, calculate it and check the key. If the key is given, I mean, the scale, you must have the scale so you can easily convert it to meters. Okay, so the next question here is drainage pattern. You can see they might ask you describe the drainage pattern of a river. Now, these are the drainage patterns. You should know the name of a drainage pattern. So drainage is the term for movement of water through clearly defined channels. So the way water moves through channels, that's drainage. Now we have these four. There are more than this, but Igcse you can't get more than these four in an answer. So don't stress yourself. You have the dendritic drainage pattern. We have the radial drainage pattern, the rectangular and the trellis drainage pattern. So dendritic is just like a tree root where you have different branches, different parts coming together into the main trunk. So that's dendritic. Then radial is when the river flows out of a reservoir or a lake, moving outwards in this format. So this can be a lake. So trellis is when you just have a single channel and you have rivers coming from both sides like mini tributaries joining it as it's moving downward. This is the main channel. That's trellis. The rectangular, you can see the shape here, comes, joins up, but they are all flowing downward at the same time, but joining to become larger. So if this is a drainage pattern now, this is a sample question. They said describe the drainage pattern east of Easton's 21 shown on the map extract. Now this map, okay, I think the next slide will see the complete map, but this is 21, so I'm looking at the Easterns, which is this area. Now if you look at this part, one major thing you should see is that within this area, you see the drainage pattern here is dendritic. So one I'm describing is dendritic. Now you can see this reservoir called Glendura Reservoir. You can see inside this reservoir, can you see that the water is moving outwards? These are water flowing. So it also have a radial pattern of drainage. Now, around these Easterns, you can see that there are waterfalls. So it's the channel through which water passes. So there are waterfalls. We have waterfalls. Now, around this area, you can see dams. There are dams too. So you come, you bring dams. Now, it's the channel through which water flows. So we've seen waterfall, we've seen dams, other features that we can find here relating to a river. Obviously, there are tributaries, smaller rivers. Obviously, if there are tributaries, there is always a confluence. Are you getting it? Now, the river flows through steep slopes. You can see steep slope here. The contour lines are close to each other. Flow through steep slopes. So that's it. That's it. It cannot be more than this. So look at the pattern. Look at the answer. There are tributaries. We wrote that. Oh, there are meanders always. The river is not straight, so there are meanders. We have radial pattern, steep gradient. I say steep slope. I mentioned that. Dendritic. There are waterfalls. They did not mention the dam that we mentioned, that we saw there. You find out that the river flows out of the reservoir. So you see it flows out of the reservoir. So you just mention what you can see. Now, flowing into, have mouth at reservoir, flowing out of the reservoir. So you can give the general direction. So there is a lot of direction in which the river is flowing. If moving in south, so west also. So you just give general description. So that's what we've just done. The rivers are small. So you can say small rivers, lots of tributaries, presence of meanders, presence of waterfall. We saw dams, we saw radial and dendritic drainage pattern, and on steep gradient. This will give you your full mark. It's as simple as that. Then next, they want us to describe the type. Look at this, two key words, type and distribution of vegetation on the map extract. types and distribution. So you must talk about the type and the distribution for you to get your full marks. So what are the types? Now, it's not that you are going to cram which type of vegetation is there. No, it's on the map. So if you go and check your key, you see a column called vegetation. So you check the different vegetation that is there and check if you can find them on this map. Now, if I'm looking at that, I know within this area here, these are non-coniferous. So, you know, the type you can have here, there are non-coniferous here. Non-coniferous, sorry. So I have non. Here. If you look at this area, you can now begin to have coniferous here. So things like shrubs, let me see, are they here? First, non-coniferous. So the map, you have to look at it clearly. I have to cut it to fit in for this lesson. So in the main extract, you'll be able to see it properly. Now, if I've come up with these types, all I need to do now is to describe. Now, break your map into north, south, west, and east. You find out that the first thing I will write about my distribution is that most of the river is found in the eastern part. Sorry, in the western part. Most vegetation is around the western part. Most vegetation is in the western part. Now, for you to also get full marks, you should tell us, use relative location. Where is located in relation to where? Now, second point you can see is that it's located close to this railway line and the river. So around the railway line and the A78 road, see A78 and the railway line, you have a lot of vegetation. Railway, you have presence of, you have presence of vegetation. Now, this area here is, if you check, this should be your southwest. So you can come now and say within the southwest region, you have things like the non-coniferous. So you can now be specific. Non-coniferous. Coniferous trees is in the southwest region of the map. You can now look at this area around the north. You have more of coniferous trees. Then you find out that the trees are in relation to where the roads, we've mentioned that, and railway. Now you should also give areas, call the names of areas where you can find this vegetation. So if you look at this, area, there are vegetations there. If you look at this area, there are vegetations there. You can also check based on the slope. Look at this area, the glen, you have a lot of vegetation there. Now also look at this Castle Hill. So this Glenside Wood, there's a lot of vegetation there. You can check the name to see that's the distribution. So Glenside Wood, you have vegetation. Around the glen, you have vegetation. Look at this Allen Wood area, is made up of vegetation also. Now, another thing is, if you look at the vegetation, they are also around steep slopes. So always try to remember your slope, very important. So they are around steep slopes. That's it. This is all. So when we go to our key now, you see, you have coniferous, you have non-coniferous trees in your, so we have the trees, we have coniferous and non-coniferous trees. So that is the type of vegetation. Then here you find out that to the west, most of the vegetation is in the western part, and you have less in the east. Now they are on steep slope. We mentioned that at the base or between A73 road and railway. We mentioned that. Now we did not mention the height. They are usually below 150. We didn't mention that. Now Most non-coniferous is in the south-southwest or southwest. I think we mentioned that, the southwest region. Now, coniferous trees is east of A78 road. So they use the A78 road as a reference point. We didn't mention about scrub because we can't really see that clearly. Now, throughout the area, across the whole map to the east and center. So you see, near what? They give relative location to an area. So which is very important. So you can use an area in relation to your calculations and to describe where you can find those vegetation. So vegetation types is 2 marks. So just mentioning this coniferous, non-coniferous, there are trees, there are the vegetation type, you get 2 marks for it. Then distribution, maximum 3 marks, and must refer to vegetation type. Very important. So you talk about social vegetation, like here that they said the non-coniferous trees is in the south-southwest. So you're telling us that in the south-southwest we find this type of vegetation. Then you can give generic description also. So you get your full mark. It's as simple as that. Next is coastline. So looking at this question, we are told to look at the coastline on the western side of the map extract. So look at the western side. This is the coastline on the map extract. And the question is identify 4 tourist attractions along the coastline. So simple. What are those things that attract tourists? So you come and check your key. On your key, you see tourist and leisure information. So you find any of this symbol that is here and you pick them. That's simple. So here I can see these 2. So find where are they? I have one here. So there is picnic site. I have one here. There is park and ride or parking. So those are 2 tourist stuff. Look at one again. So that is what a golf course. That's a tourist. Okay, we still have another parking repeated here. You go down. This is one again along the coast. So what is that? Let me see. Matthew. Okay, this is it. That's a public house. Is also found there. So we just need 4. Now this is a coast, obviously. So there are you find out that this area here is a beach. So you have a lot of sand because they said this is a coastal park or something. So you have sands there. So they are parking space, coastal park. So you also have sand. I say sand, sorry. You have beach. I think I'm getting tired. I have a beach here. So that's it. So let's see. We mentioned we're able to find the picnic site with public house, beach, golf courses. Now the coastal part or national trail, this line here with green, sorry. Those are coastal part or national trail. They can also be a form of tourist attraction. So you just find those features around and check the key where they are and you pick it up and you are good to go. Simple. Okay, so next, they said, oh shit, okay, no problem. The answer is here. So let's just look at how they got it. Now, describe the physical, which are natural features of the coastline shown on the map extract. So these are natural features, just like river features. What are natural features of a coast? Coasts usually have things like headlands. They have things like bays. If there's a headland, there's a bay. And usually headland comes with cliff. And bays, we have beach. You can have things like the wave cut platform. Wave cut platform along the coast is where you have sand and shingles. As long as there are beaches, beach, you can get that. So basically, these are the features of a coast. So if you look at this is protruding into the sea. So this is a headland. So if this is a headland, obviously this has undergone some form of erosion. So here you have a bay. And this bay have deposition of sand here that makes the presence of a beach. Now, if you look at this, as this area here, Sandy Creek, so you find out that this headland, this area, you can have things like all these points will be a wave cut platform. And remember, please always check your key. So once you check your key, you can name as much as this stuff that is here. So look at this, which are deposits. So this can be things like stack, stump. So, and the beach is made up of what? Sand. It's made up of sand. Sorry. It's made up of sand and shingles. It's made up of sand and shingles. So if you check the mark scheme, so see, we mentioned this sand, we mentioned this, so sand, shingles, beach, they're quite similar. Wave cut platform, we mentioned that. Headland, obviously there'll be a bay, and once there is a headland, there is always a cliff attached to it. So you are good. It's just the same thing that you've learnt in school. You just find it. And one major skill I should give you is some of these things must be there once you see it. So you just look at those ones that you know must be there. So no matter what you write them, write as much as you can remember in line with that topic. IGCSE is designed to mark that which is correct. So if I like, I can write everything about coastal landforms, just list them. They will select the one that is inside, that is correct, and they'll give me my mark. Now, describe how the relief has affected the route of the railway. So, look at a railway line and how the relief has affected the route of a railway line. Sorry about this, but I really don't know which one is the railway line here because I didn't bring out the key, so I can't tell. But however, anytime you're asked to describe route, it's just normal skill to know that when something moves, it normally moves to avoid road, especially road and railway track. They are usually around the valley floor. Yeah, so they normally move to avoid steep slope. So you find that they avoid higher land. They avoid areas that are steep, and usually they follow areas that are more gentle because it's easy to construct on gentle gradient and flatter land. Do you get it? So avoid steep slopes, and they follow the coastline in the south. So I can't really, okay, I think it's this. So they avoid steep slopes. You get it? So every route on a road is built. So in this question, they can ask you about railway line. They can ask you about a road. I think I have a sample. Now, good. They say describe the route of the N645 road. So where is it? This is the N645 road. So we want to describe the route. So if you keep checking the path it takes, now pick things around. So you see here, there is a bridge. That's one of the route. I can bring in here. I can say presence of bridge. Okay. Another thing is, as it's coming, it's not straight. So it is windy. I'm describing the route. Now, if you look at it, it is following the valley. So it's avoiding what? These are steep slopes. It's following the valley. It's avoiding steep slope. So it follows what? Follows the valley. It avoids steep slope. So it's bending, it's windy. Now it's next to what? The river. That's the part. Next to a river. Do you get it? We've mentioned it avoids steep slope. So if you avoid steep slope, it's more gentle towards the south. So it follows a gentle slope. So look at the answer. It's windy. It follows the valley. Keeps low, which is gentle. Keeps level, and it crosses a river. That forms the bridge. You get your full mark. Now, the next thing is you might be asked questions about physical features like settlement, where they will ask you give reasons for the growth of settlement at different point and also the site. Now, when you hear growth is what are those things that are found on the map in that area that can help a settlement to increase in size? Now, most times you get things like this that are very common. Usually settlement are built on flat land because it's easy to build on flat land than on higher ground. So you see, avoid higher grounds. Now, if it is built on a valley, it can get sheltered from by mountains, at least sheltered from the sun and also from wind. So it's like you have a valley here, valley floor, and two mountains. So if you have your building here, you find out that you'll be sheltered from the sun and also from wind. Now you check if there is a road there, it's good for growth. Tourism also attract people. So if there are campsites which are used for tourism, airports, that's good accessibility. Industry can attract workers. You have quarry sites, railway, good for transport also. And if there are bridges, good for transport. Lakes and rivers, also good for transport. So all these stuff will be important for settlement growth. You should also look at things like services that are available within that area. If it's available, you give examples of them, like tourism is a service, and they give example of it. Yeah, good. So tourism, example, camping, campsite cabin, hotels, lodging, restaurant, and footpath. You see the footpath is usually for ecotourism. So look at this question now. We are told that look at the settlement at Hamoy and describe the site. Site is the where the settlement is located. Where it is located. So it can be located on a valley floor, it can be located on a flat land, whichever. So you should look at the way the contour is arranged. Remember when I explained valley, that was the first thing I looked at in this video. So, and give reasons for the growth of the settlement. So if you look at this is Hamoy. Now they want us to give reasons for the growth, and sometimes they might ask you for the function. So you look at the services being provided there. So first, the site of this settlement, this is 200 and this is 250, right? If I move to this direction, I'm having 168. So this is low, low, low. So this is another 200. So this area here. So I will agree that Hamoy is built along the valley or valley side. Now, if you now look at this area, what are those things that can be found that will help the settlement grow? So that is why I included the key here. So this key will give you an idea of some of the things that can help the settlement grow. Here, there is a church. See, this is a church, so worship center. Now look at roads. So all the roads here, you have roads for accessibility. You have bridge here. You have water. So this is another bridge you have. So things like water, you have bridge, you have roads, road junctions. So most of the roads meet there. All this will help for growth of a settlement. Now, which other features? So just check. Let's see. We've mentioned road. What does all this symbol represent? And there are castle and monument here. I think this is it, that are found within the area. So all that can help for growth of the settlement. Okay, let's see. Is there any other feature I can pick here? What is this? Is it here? Okay, it's the monument. Okay, so now this is what is expected. They said it's on a valley floor. That's the site. So you see road junction, bridge point, there are services, railway, we have woodland. Sorry, didn't even pick that. All these are woodland. So for woodland for agriculture, and the trees can be used as source of fuel. So you see deciduous trees, I didn't mention that they're also there. They will help for growth of settlement. Now lastly, the last thing I'm looking at for this skill paper is to describe the advantages for industry of the location of this industrial area. So the advantages for industry of the location of this industrial area. So this is what was given to us, and they say this is the industrial area. So we look for this part on the map, and if you look at that, it is this point here they are talking about. So this point, look at it here. I think this area. So why is this area good for location of industry? So what are those factors? So if you look at this, there are roads. Roads are good. So road junction, good for industry. Location, there are railways. So this is, you have road here. You have railway here, good for growth. You have water here, good for growth. You have marshland here, some marshes, and marshland are usually cheaper to buy and good for expansion of the industry. Then you have buildings, buildings for workers to live. And obviously this area is just, this is 5 meters above sea level. So you find out that it's very low. So it's a flat land, which is good for buildings and construction and expansion also of factories, because there's a lot of mesh land here that can be filled. So look at the answers. Railway, there are motorway, different roads and route. There are bridge point. So you have a bridge here. There's a lot of bridge points where road crosses a river. Now this structure here is a flyover. So you see road going under and road on top of it. So that's a flyover, which is also good. So water supply, labor from the town, and you can also get markets from the town because people live there a lot, and there are space for expansion. The marshland around will be used for expansion, which is very cheap. Obviously there are flatlands, and you have river and sea for transport, and agricultural land too. So this area here is for agriculture. That's it. So your paper 2, outside question number 2 to question number 6, your question number 1, it will be difficult. I am saying it will be difficult to write IGCSE exam on Thursday, and these are not the questions that will come out. It's just different format, different